It's the 22nd of December 2022. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm Dana Durnford, and I'm also known as the Nuclear Proctologist.org and Gamma Goat. You can call in at 709-589-4406. I'll leave that up there for you for a bit. My apologies, it always takes a few moments to get this. I don't have no engineers, sound engineers, or nobody else to work the equipment, so I have to do it all myself. So don't worry, once it starts rolling, it's pretty smooth. That's the current generation of itineration of Scum. There's the past one. These people are criminals, and we have a poll tonight to honor these criminals. Should the IAEA be disbanded and past, present nuke management be charged with crimes against humanity? At 100%, 14 votes. We're off to a rip-roaring start. Feel free to call in. This is the last show of the week. When it's uncomfortable and it's unpopular, and even when it's dangerous to speak, that's the truth, is the precise time that the truth must be spoken. And don't look to your medias to tell you the truth, which is probably the saddest story of all, isn't it? These children go to universities with these incredible intentions, and then the industry gobbles them up and spits them back out as weapons against us. Try making this story up. This story came out just before I went live. And I was like, I got to start the show off with that one because that kind of tops everything else. Toyota collaboration on Fukushima recovery aims for carbon neutral biomass fuel. So they want to do it in the most radioactive areas. Because I was like, nah, they're not that evil. Just before Christmas Eve, are they? Toyota has entered into agreement with 3 towns in the district of Fukushima Prefecture. Well, the district are next door neighbors to multiple ongoing nuclear meltdowns within a couple of kilometers. And there are no-go zones on top of that. So they're incredibly radioactive, with multiple fuel pools and reactor cores melted down right alongside of it. In order to develop carbon-neutral agriculture, which is not what you get when you look at the headline, is it? Agricultural. With a twist. The partnership will see Toyota support towns with soil decontamination. Soil decontamination. So what it looks like they're doing is they're going to go into the no-go zone and burn the soil to help them with their recovery. The story gets even more, lots of little twists in the story. Away we go, hopefully. With soil decontamination, you got my attention now, Toyota. The 3 towns of Okuma, Futaba, and Namie, 3 nuclear wastelands. Okuma and Futaba are both attached to the nuclear meltdown property. And like it's split down the middle, the nuclear plant is split. The site is on both sides of the community, which means there's nobody lives there because it's a nuclear wasteland. That didn't stop them from taking the 1-ton bags, millions of 1-ton bags that they picked up because of radiation, and cutting them open and growing food in it in Futaba. It's just never seen that one coming either. It was like the town's an evacuation zone. There's no one's allowed to live there. It's a nuclear wasteland. It's just 2 kilometers. You can see the multiple nuclear meltdowns from your front porch. And it's hemorrhaging out all day, every day. The atoms are splitting freely into the environment. And the original plumes decimated every facet of every square inch of these nuclear wastelands. It's just wow. So they eventually are going to produce bioethanol in Okuma. The whole story is it's not long. We'll get into it, hopefully the meats of it right here. Okuma and Futaba recovers soil fertility on land made unusable since 2011 earthquake and created low-carbon agricultural system to provide animal feed. And the animals, of course, going to be for consumption. The feed will then be taken to Namie, where a herd of cows. Namie was evacuated for 7 years. And they they picked up topsoil, claimed it was safe, but they never picked up topsoil surrounding. And they stacked the bags all around and said, come on back. Nuclear industry needs you more than ever. To provide animal feed. The feed will be taken to Namie, where a herd of cows sustained by agriculture in Okuma and Futaba will provide manure, radioactive manure, as radioactive fertilizer for the continual recovery. Do you get what they're doing? So they're going to produce food there for cows. When the cows shit, they're going to take the radioactive material back to the nuclear wasteland. And and so their role in the projects to provide is expertise. God help us if they actually got expertise in this stuff. After years of research and developing Namie and other areas affected by endless multiple nuclear meltdowns that never stop, perpetual splitting of the atoms, Toyota will offer measurements and analyze the soil composition. Now to the arbiter effects. Now they got in the God role. And use drones to monitor how crops are for food or for people, across the cultivated land as it is reclaimed in Okuma and Futaba, which are still, these reactors are still melting down. There's no cleaning that up even in 100 years. First off, everybody that works in these projects is going to get incredible exposures. It takes time for it to manifest and show up and get diagnosed. And so therefore, let's do it. Because we're nuclear and that's what we're good at. We're good at stupid, as long as it's evil attached to it. The aim is not only to recover the land decontaminated soil by bringing radioactive excrements back, but to eventually build a carbon-neutral agricultural methodology which not only generate feedstock for cattle, but the bioethanol plant at Okuma. And Okuma, these are nuclear wastelands. You're going into a nuclear wasteland and you think you're immune to the radioactive emissions. You think that the product is going to come out is going to be... Because just like, how do you get this evil? How does that actually work? Especially just before Christmas Eve, for God's sakes. Why don't you take a day off? What's wrong with you people? Yeah, I thought I'd seen it all. Morality is doing what's right, regardless of what you're told. Obedience is doing what is told, regardless of what is right. And that's what Toyota's doing. They're obedient. Damn you, scum. Japan plans a reversal of post-Fukushima nuclear phase-out. Yes, we know. We heard you. You haven't shut up for like 6 weeks. Shut up. you got no new plants in the pipeline. You don't got a fuel fabrication facility. You don't know when you've been trying to build it for 28 years. It's almost 20 years past the scheduled opening date. What is the budget so far? 150 billion US dollars spent on it, and you got no idea if it'll ever come to fruition. Thank God for stupid people. Thank Jesus for them. That's all I can say. Especially the Japanese. They're the most dangerous species on the planet. Japan plans reversal of post-Fukushima nuclear phase-out. The global energy crisis caused by embargoes and sanctions, right? That's why Japan has inflation. Russia wanted to give them more oil and gas. They're like, no, we're too good for you. United Nations says we can't, so go away. I'm telling United Nations, which is not supposed to exist. United Nations. United Bilderberg Group, prompted by the global fuel crisis. There is no fuel crisis. There's idiots with no way of replacing the commodities in the country for the people that own the country, the victims. And you hire these people to keep your energy supply up to speed, and the nuclear industry took it over, and it's a disaster worldwide. Once the nuclear industry took a look at it, got their fingers in there, that's what they call it, the atomic plague, right? Because they infiltrate every facet of your lives. They're in everybody's house. You got americium-241 in everybody's house on the bloody planet. And they didn't need to use, like the smoke detectors, they didn't need to use americium. It was just a great way to get rid of tons and tons and tons of americium because you don't have a repository anywhere on the planet. That's why they done it. And it's emitting. It's the definition of insane. They murder you in your hospitals with radiation. And everybody's like, please, radiate me again. Since then, operators of 27 plants have applied for permission. 17 reactors in Japan fulfilled their fabled safety requirements. A decade down the road, their employees haven't, over 1,000 employees of 54 plants haven't worked in a decade, a majority of them. And they didn't go to Fukushima and volunteer either. With only 10 of those are already reconnected to the grid. That nuclear industry is back kicking the shit out of Earth again. Big challenge is choosing a nuclear career in Japan. This is priceless. This is so adorable. Get them when they're young. Well, at least that one on his back is not Photoshopped for a change. They're usually Photoshopped, right? Bizarre. And count on, if you're looking for stupid, count on nuclear. 2011 Fukushima disaster made working in the nuclear industry unappealing for everybody with a half a friggin' IQ. But a new government push to revive the sector could start to shift the narrative. One of the stupidest people I heard this last 24 hours is this particular person. She declined to give her full family name. She studies chemistry and radiation biology as a student. She's looking for a deeper understanding of the Fukushima disaster than what she read in the anxiety-inducing media reports. Anxiety-inducing. With prejudice. She applied for a job in 2017 at the operator of the stricken Fukushima plant and was surprised when the interviewers asked what her parents thought of the role. She later learned other candidates had pulled out of the recruitment because of their family. They show you this picture of Reactor 4. the fake reactor 4. They're hard cases, is all I can say. And Buddy's holding the Geiger counter backwards. Just kidding. And by the way, whoever that is, you would have died that week or that month. That's reactor 3 right alongside of it, by the way. That was a badass mixed oxide fuel reactor. So you see the structure behind Buddy, these tubings, this was built off site. Above them is just panels. There's nothing inside of it. Despite what Arnie Gunnarsson says. There's nothing. So the building to the left is the official story. The building to the right is the official story. And so they claim inside of the panels, which is absurd, by the way, it looks like your left.
The division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima.
Arnie Gunnarsson, of course, got pumped out to everybody. He built the racks for the assemblies, Dana. Yeah, so he should, if anybody should know, the assemblies are in the fuels at the top of the building. He has to know the top of the building doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. They built a structure and then claimed it looked like that over there. Got all the fuel out of the pool that don't exist. And they done the same thing for reactor 3. These are stumps, not reactors. Okay. She said, they asked me if I would work at Fukushima Daiichi, and I explained to them that it wouldn't affect my health. It wouldn't affect my health. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Well, now it's worldwide, right? Everybody worldwide believes it looks like that. But it actually looks like this. Swear on my hamster's grave. Studied chemistry and radiation biology as a student, looking for a deeper understanding. Quite the setup, wasn't it? That's a journalist, right? They're not there to help you. They're there to kill you. And we cover the proof each day. Understanding the Fukushima disaster, that what she read is anxiety-inducing media reports. They asked me if I would work at Fukushima Daiichi, and I explained to them that it wouldn't affect my health. So whoever wrote that story, their parents should have to beat the shit out of them with baseball bats. So they repaired the reactor and got the fuel out of it by 2014, Dana. Well, when did they go inside of that control room? Well, they couldn't get in there until 7 years later, Dana. So let me get this straight. It took them 7 years to go back, and they can only go back for a few seconds. And that's not part of the building, for fuck's sakes. But they're in the building getting the fuel out in 2014. Okay, sure. And everybody's like, what are you talking about nuclear for? So boring. Really? You're boring. South Korea, Japan hold a consultation on Fukushima water discharge with South Korea. South Korea, the media, of course. Remember how the media painted the last war before Ukraine? How come all of a sudden they're blowing out of proportion that they're going to get nuked by Russia if we don't all blink at the same time? Oh, God, not this story again. Well, not this picture again. Oh, this one got a twist in it. There's a good one. I never seen it coming. Where's it to? Where are you to, you bastard? They actually got his name there. One of these pictures, I kind of highlighted it, I think. I'll get to it. I never seen a name attached to him before. They even mentioned it in the article. So that's 200 tons of fuel, Dana. No, it's not, moron. There's not even a ton of fuel, moron. Well, it is, Dana. It's in the newspapers. So shut up. I gotta drink my aspartame and watch the news. Fox News will tell me what's real. Does that look like... That's a handrail. Let me remind you first, not for a joint, but it's just a normal handrail. It's not for some joint 50 feet tall. It's for a normal-sized human. And the media's are trying to convince everybody that that's 200 tons. So what I done was I took that picture and I darkened it. And then I put meter. Instead of whatever this creature thinks. Because that's a lethal dose. A stark reminder of a nuclear disaster, one of the remains left behind from the Chernobyl accident was a highly radioactive lava-like material. What was it and how was it formed? And they actually put a name, Arthur Korniak. They mentioned him, I can't pronounce it. I never was good at Ukrainian language. At the Elephant's Foot in Chernobyl, the Elephant's Foot. So here's the meat. I've never seen that before. But he put a name claiming he's at the Elephant Foot. God bless scientists. Sacrifice one of their own to get a picture for everybody worldwide. He should get the Nobel Prize. One of the remains left behind from the accident. That's an interesting way to frame this, isn't it? It's a highly radioactive, because normally this is written by the nuclear industry. They give it to the media. The media publishes with their name on it, and they take the credit, and that's how they make their money, see? And they do the same thing with the military. It's a highly radioactive lava-like material nicknamed, I can think of a few nicknames. Elephant Foot isn't one of them. It is an enormous mass of rare substance called corium. Oh my God, I had no idea. You're so clever. Approximately 10 feet, 3 meters in length, just a few minutes of exposure enough to kill a person. I'm going to show you that picture. If he blinks twice, he'll die, Data. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Just want to go beat up a scientist every time I see shit like this. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding, but I'm just sad, actually, isn't it? It's sad, man. I'm not kidding. We're killing it tonight. 17 likes. We're backwards tonight. We got more viewers than likes. That's weird. We got 23 votes. Somebody actually said no. Should the IAEA be disbanded and past present nuclear management there be charged with crimes against humanity? I mean, you don't really need a prosecutor to win the case. It's like, as soon as you walk in, you're from the IAEA, you're guilty. Life in jail. Or 6 days of Fukushima. One of the remains left behind from the accident is a whole lot of stupid people. Just a few minutes exposure is enough to kill that person right there, Dana. Yes, boy. What kind of get up has he got under? Like, he needs 4 feet of lead on. Doesn't look unless he's really, really, really skinny. Maybe, but I know, I'm not seeing it. Has he got 4 feet of lead on? I can't tell. I haven't got my glasses on. Just a few minutes of exposure is enough to kill a person. This is what, like, we should turn that into some UNESCO site, and all the nuclear scientists, when they graduate, they got to go down and put their hand on that and recite the Constitution. We can dig a big hole down the hill and with a slide, and we can just push them over with a stick after a couple of moments. Think about it, eh? We'll do a GoFundMe. See if we can get that slide. Just a few minutes of exposure is enough to kill a person. You can't get that close to it. That's a lethal dose. Like you drop about 100 and 150 feet away from it. By the way, your camera's not going to work there. You're being hoodwinked. Remember all the lies you told for the first couple of days? You really think they gave that up? Oh, you got us. We're going to tell the truth from here on in. We won't lie. Swear. Dib, 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 dub, dub, dub. Just a few minutes of exposure is enough to kill a person. We should do like a list of who we would like to see go there. Prove me wrong. I can think of quite a few, a couple thousand, but you know me, I'm a bit of a bastard. The team proceeded to take a series of photographs and collected samples from the melter reactor core. They volunteered to go to Fukushima, but Japan was like, no, we got this. Corium is only formed naturally during a nuclear accident. Has only been formed 5 times. Really? So they claim in Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and there was 8 fuel pools that turned to, well, if there's anything left, turned to corium. Well, once they detonated, the biggest byproduct of the radiated fuel rods is corium. Corium produced all the time worldwide. All the fuel pools are hemorrhaging it all the time. There's 1,000 of them worldwide releasing invisible plumes. It's called global warming. You got invisible plumes covering the entire planet constantly. By the way, Chernobyl, they closed 9,400 plus farms in Ireland and Scotland and the United Kingdom because of Chernobyl fallout. It avoided the rest of the country in Europe and just looked for farms only. In between farms are totally safe. I swear. Fukushima professor is working on tiger puffer branding on big catches. They heated the ocean up so much that the tiger puffers fish can live there now. So now they got a new market. But it's only off Fukushima prefecture. That's a few 100 million isotopes anyway. So it's a nuclear wasteland. There's just another way of promoting evil. Oh, and bear with me. Trying to promote the branding of the fish to help the local fishery industry recover from the heavy damage caused by misinformation. I thought they were going to say the tsunami, I bet. How many people thought they were going to say tsunami that time? The heavy damage caused by misinformation on radioactive contamination related to the meltdowns. They haven't got the courage to put meltdowns, which is triple meltdowns. You put an S there, right? And these are special, so you should call them what they are. Triple nuclear power plant reactor core meltdown. Give them the respect they deserve. Just kidding. You're the media. I don't expect anything out of you, only evil. And yet never disappoint, I noticed. And by the powerful tremors, which is earthquake in normal people's language, in February 2021 and March 2022, both of which registered an upper 6 on the Japanese seismic intensity scale of 7. But they don't say that. They say the upper 6, the second highest level on Japan's seismic intensity scale of... and you skip the 7, the word 7. So you divide 7 into 10, And you got 1.4285, blah, 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 blah. So you got 1.43, basically. So 6.5 is an upper, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9. So let's say 6.7 is a 9.54 on the Richter scale, an international scale. So that's why they're, and we covered both of these extensively. The one this year closed or damaged 5,000 schools. It happened 30 kilometers off the nuclear meltdown coastline in front of the meltdowns. Never caused any extra chain reactions or any of the fragile buildings to collapse. Because, see, that's what you see, right? That's what I see. I know what I saw, and I saw what I seen. I saw whatever they told me I saw, Dana. Mom, Dana shitting a nuclear scientist. It's even worse. Bear with me. So what the wicked little demonic, sadistic little coward demons done? So they built a containment over that, and it looks like that creature up there. But as you can see, it's still wrecked, right? And they done the same thing with reactor 4. Mostly it was done by remote. It was built off-site, and then it was assembled. Now, they did use people for this assembly. They did sacrifice. Anybody who worked there got lethal doses. So they went... There were 16,000 people ran away from that site. Let me see if I got it. I was playing around with their site the other day. You'll like this a bit. These people are miracle workers, eh? I got that video downloaded from TEPCO's site too. Okay, so think about that there, but this is what they done. You can see people there with thick vests on. These are tungsten vests. They're standing on steel plates. That's reactor 4. They actually sacrifice people. These are very high quality, by the way, and with this new operating system, I still haven't worked out how to zoom in when I'm live. I apologize. You got people here in paper suits. Now, they say they burn 7,000 of these paper suits a day. Because they don't, like, they go for the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the language and the vulnerable of society. That's why you see headlines like this: 16,000 workers have quit. Because this you're not supposed to be stood up here, period. Like, you couldn't even get into the control room for 7 years. Remember that? Not so many minutes ago. So they built a structure. And you can see the building in behind it. Bear with me. And then they claim to look like that. Which is, the fuel pool is what you're looking at there. They're way above it. They done, like I said, they've done the same thing with reactor 3. They built this off-site. They brought in there, assembled it with cranes, and then pretend. And they always show these weird pictures of people stood there pointing in paper suits at a nuclear multiple. So that's what it actually looks like, and that's what it looks like. Why didn't they clean up all this debris attached to the building? But allege that it looks perfect. They can do that on the inside, but on the outside is like this. It's not suspicious. It's a terrible lie that people didn't flush out on purpose. The media had to participate in the deceit for it to succeed, and the universities. They couldn't have any dissenting voices. And guess what? There wasn't. There was. Let's see if I can find. Like what Arnie Gunnison done was just terrible. He participated in the cover-up and made it work for a large part. He done the same thing with 3 Mile Island, him and Lake Barrett. I'll give you some irony while I'm looking for that other piece here. Let me just watch the volume for you. This is just one of the many media pretending she's in reactor 4 to the left. And the fuel pools would be 100 feet above the carnage.
We are here inside reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
I went there. Can you see me? See me in the middle of the screen there? See me up there in the middle? I'm actually right there. I checked it out myself.
So I'm actually at Unit 4. This is Unit 4. Now I'm going to show you a video of CNN claiming they're inside of this building. Now if you go inside this building for 2 seconds, you will die. You'll never come out of there. We can't go get you. But here's CNN with fake news. This is fake news, and here we go.
So how can you be in a fuel pool 100 plus feet above the wreckage? And you're in an invisible fuel pool. Look at me, everybody. I'm in an invisible fuel pool. Hang on. This is Helen Caldercott in the center, top center. She's done the interview over and over and over, but she got questioned. It was the only time she ever got called on it. In an interview, that is. And she's going to be asked which one is real.
Let me ask you this. You've said that if the spent fuel pool in number 4 collapses, that you would evacuate your family from Boston. Do you think we would ever know the truth of what's going on there? And the reason I ask is because we've seen coverage in the national news media here in the United States from ABC News and others that take video cameras in saying that they're being given exclusive access to number 4 in the removal of the fuel rods, which is said to have begun. And what we see in the video being shared here in America is a pristine interior building. It doesn't look like a building in which the top blew off in a hydrogen explosion.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
Yeah, it looks pristine, does it? Well, you can't do it. You can't. The pool blew up. Well, that's actually reactor 4 blown up. I've played the videos of reactor 1 blown up so much, I'm afraid to play it anymore. People might get mad at me. How's everybody doing? Let's check in the comments section. Hi, Stephen Young. Most people do believe CNN, yeah. There's a lot. It's free, see? That's not an accident. It comes with most TV packages. CNN will come free. All the senior citizens' homes, because they vote. Got it blaring. Richard Thinker, let me see. Timothy Martin, Albert. Have we got Any questions? Anybody want to fire? You can always text me. 709-589-4406. Anybody in the comments section? I was actually thought about doing questions and answers tonight and forgot about it. I was thinking about it yesterday and the day before and thinking about it today, and then I forgot to do it when I was setting up the preamble. Blow stuff up. Let me see. Blow stuff up. I could probably manage that. I'll do that again here. Wood chipping or guillotines? Or both? Peace out. Jeff Port. I'm just checking the people here. Because there's a little bit delay coming back to you folks. I was just waiting to see if anybody was throwing any kind of question or statement out there they wanted me to relay or try to answer. Let's keep it rolling, I suppose. I'll try to keep my eye open there. The speech began to cotton nets around 2020 when he was out fishing for flounders and other fish in a nuclear wasteland. We need more honesty on nuclear power's long legacy of hazardous waste. That's a really interesting statement. That's from The Guardian, the Yuckian. Well, I mean, with all the book burnings that's going on, like they took down my site last year is the equivalent to book burning, right? Now 1,600 presentations. 300 got taken down a couple years before that with court orders to silence me. Then he just took my site down when I was out looking for spiders. Thousands of children are now regularly fined and arrested at U.S. public schools. One child was arrested for throwing a paper airplane. A girl's arm was broken by an officer for failing to clean up crumbs. Another student was tasered for refusing to wear his school identification badge. So is that why we can't get through to people? They've been so abused everywhere. So what do you see in the picture? You see all these farms. That's Sellafield they're showing you, right? There's all these farms. Brains are awesome. I wish everybody would use them. Yeah, because whoever said we need more honesty on nuclear waste, and then they show you a picture of Sellafield surrounded by farms, which is one of the biggest cover stories in the world. Nobody on the planet acknowledges. Everybody's like, no, it's not. There's no farms there. Yeah, it is. Look up a picture. No, you're full of shit. There is no farms around nuclear power plants. That would be catastrophic, Dana. This is the fuel reprocessing plant that's considered responsible, along with La Hague, of polluting the Arctic. So it can pollute the entire Arctic and the Europe coastlines, but it can't pollute all the farms around it. Come on. Instead, we need more honesty. Instead, we need more honesty about the facts that nuclear power inescapably generates large quantities of hazardous human-made waste that's splitting the atoms into the environment and is also surrounded by farms. It's so criminal. This is almost all nuclear plants worldwide. It defies any kind of reality, see? How will the storm affect nuke plants? Oh, if it takes the external power away and floods the site, the generators are not working. That's not going to be good. I don't know. Well, we've covered that a lot over the years, Jeff. The storms. First off, they dump a lot of water on the nuke sites. So a lot of these sites have open. They have what they call what the hell is the name they use for it? They have these storage pools outdoors for other kinds of waste. They also have incinerators on site too, right? They usually got to shut down to 70-mile-per-hour winds. And if you lose external power, like we've seen in Texas a couple of years ago where they got flooded for 50 miles around this nuke plant. And they were taking helicopters to go to Walmart to get sleeping bags and everything for the people that stayed behind. The whole story, who knows what really happened. But they were very secretive about it. Instead, we need more honesty about the facts that nuclear power inescapably generates large quantities of hazardous human waste. We've done that day now. Coincidentally, you published a letter on the 14th of December suggesting that nuclear radiation is less dangerous than emissions from a wood-burning stove. A curious comparison to make. Wood-burning stoves are pollutants, no questions, but they can't lead to a wind scale, a 3 Mile Island, a Chernobyl, or a Fukushima, or a Santa Susana, or a Mayak, or a SL1, or a Hanford, nor will decommissioning them cost billions and take decades. This was Tom Smith, the chair of nuclear decommissioning authorities. The non-decommissioning authority, but he was, it's unusual for any kind of pushback. And they published it. They just left out all the good details, that's all. The proper name for them are disease factories, and that's why if you go near them with a camera, you're treated as a hostile, right? Chris Singh is at it again with Holtec. They got it for $0.05, $1 and a nickel, and oops, there's a lot of money there if you can restart the bloody thing. Hey, Singh, this is not like a second-hand car, moron. And you don't have the qualifications to run it. There's a lot of money got to go into it. The money you got is supposed to go for decommissioning, not to fire it back up. The reason they shut it down, because it's embrittled. It's brittle from decades of neutron bombardment, which at a very high pressure reactors, at over 1,000 psi, that's not a good combination. And censorship is inseparable from surveillance, by the way. And Lord knows I get censored. Holy smokeroos. How pathetic is my numbers tonight? Let's go have a look. There's nothing more pathetic than my numbers. 23 likes. Bless your hearts. 31 votes, 97%, 26 people on one of the most important stories. Nuclear is, your biggest threat to all species. A 3-person crew had to enter Lepreau's nuclear reactor building. The utility says all radiation protection procedures and dose limits for the staff were met, so stop your fear-mongering. Yeah, but what itineration of procedures and dose limits are we talking about? Is this the 10th time you raised it? The 50th time? There is no safe doses, and those stupid plastic suits you were using ain't going to protect you. They actually had to send people in the reactor, and they're very secretive. You got a pinhead there. Look, that's some serious posture issues there, buddy. He's about 2 IQs away from a monkey by the looks of him. A 3-person crew had to enter Lepreau's reactor. This is New Brunswick, Canada. You can imagine what kind of friggin' nightmare that one's going to be. The CANDU reactor. These are, they even mention tritium because they're lunatics. Last Thursday, to fix a heavy water leak, access to the building is through an airlock door, which is just like the one behind barely human creature we see right there. 3 authorized. Yeah, you can go in there, man. Take this Scotty backpack with you. And qualified staff. Like, there's no one qualified or to go into the inside of a reactor. And there's a reason for it, because we've been bombarded with gamma shines, X-rays, and neutrons for decades. It's absurd. The whole story is absurd. We're outfitted to enter the reactor containment building. Oh, really? They're outfitted, were they? Where an unknown amount of heavy water was escaping from a tube half the width of a household garden hose. A household garden hose is around 130, 150 tons per day. So half of that, say 75 tons, it can do a day. Who knows how long it was really going on? The leakage was stopped manually by crimping the tubing, which is completely more difficult than what they're claiming, which took a little over 30 minutes, according to Couture. Like, you can't believe anything they're telling you early on. Nothing. Outside of that, it's in New Brunswick. Outside of that, you can't believe another thing that comes out of their mouth. All safety precautions were taken. The safety protocols were followed. Why are you telling us all of this for, I wonder? That's really unusual, by the way. Right, you can imagine how there's nothing there, only a bit of algae. Everything else is gone. A pair of events at the nuclear disease factory last week forced a generator offline indefinitely, with no clear explanations yet of exactly what happened a week later. Official accounts for New Brunswick Power and the Canadian Degenerate Nuclear Non-Safety Commission have been light on details. Really, that's a pretty polite way to put it, isn't it? And to date include no mention of a crew needing to enter the reactor building to manually fix a leaking pipe, which is actually what they done. So where did you get that information from in that case? If the scumbags didn't feed it to you. Volumes of heavy water involved in nuclear is unclear. In the early morning hours, so they had a light staff in the dark. Why do most nuclear meltdowns happen early in the morning in the dark, I wonder? December the 14th, New Brunswick Power reported, that's 8 days ago, that a partial loss of the power to the station, which was running at full capacity, initiated a complete shutdown. Well, like when you talk about a partial loss of power to the station, you can interpret that as the external supply, because reactors run on external gas, oil, and coal plants. They need two of them. This one's no different. Several hours later, it was discovered that heavy water was leaking from a pipe inside the reactor building. That doesn't mean, well, look, it's not going to shut down because it lost a couple of tons. It's not going to lose partial power. It's like saying your car is going to lose power because you never topped up your radiator fluid right to the top. You can lose a lot of water before your radiator will cause your car to start bucking, right? So several hours later, it was discovered, and it was only discovered because they lost power. So how much did they actually lose is the question. And this is why they're being so sparing with their information, is it? Because we cover quite a few stories. This is the first time we heard any of this. Inside the reactor building. People went inside the reactor building. In an old neutron bombarded and brittled gamma shine x-rays for decades. Oh, but they had their own Scotty backpack, Dana. Uh-huh. Yeah, good for them. Do you even understand what's going on here? Heavy water is similar to ordinary water. No, it's not. It's about 10% more dense because of a difference in the makeup of its hydrogen atoms. It is not radioactive, but it is. And it's not just going to be tritium. And tritium in that kind of quantity is catastrophic. Catastrophic is like in the 70s, the late 70s, the Ontario nuclear power had an accident. It was so bad they had to raise the safe limits to 44,000 becquerels a liter in people's drinking water for decades. California, 15 becquerels is considered the limit. Canada is 44,000. Fuck you. That's Canada. The nuclear industry in Canada is just one great big gutless, spineless creature. Tritium can be hazardous if it's ingested or inhaled or absorbed or shower or cooking your food in it. You definitely lose faith in humanity when you start looking at nuclear industry and the people in it. Radiation fields inside the reactor buildings during the repair were the normal range is deadly for these insides, for fuck's sakes. So calling it in the normal range is completely dishonest. And there was elevated levels of airborne tritium from the heavy water spill. Again, they're so vague. They even look like death. She said the 3 employees sent to fix the leak were each wearing protective, useless plastic suits with independent air supplies, which ain't going to protect you from the gamma shines, the x-rays, the neutron bursts, the damage and the pulsing going on in there. Supplied for safety, had radiation survey instrumentations with them. These are, like, in order to detect what's going on there, you need some, like, the whole story is insane. All radiation protection procedures and dose limits were adhered to during this work. It is at least the second heavy water spill at Lepreau, New Brunswick nuclear power disaster disease factory. All radiation protection procedures and dose limits for staff. This is a complete arrogance to write and to release something like that, where you're getting there. It's the picture they're painting. Don't leave you any room to extrapolate what really happened when this is supposed to be a media telling you what happened. This is not, not like there's national security at issues here. The incident caused problems when an airlock door malfunctioned. How did we get to that? and could not be opened for 2 hours, with the crew cleaning the spill still inside. So they were inside and couldn't get out of the reactor. We lost the planet to fucking morons. Oh my God. The incident caused problems. Try this again, because I can't believe I just read that sentence. Let's try it again. I must have made a fucking mistake or something. That can't be right. Let's try this one more time. I gotta read it. I gotta read it to myself first, because I don't know if I can read it out loud again. No, that's actually what it said. The incident caused problems when an airlock door malfunctioned, aka they couldn't get it open, so the people inside the reactor couldn't get out. When the one in front of you drops dead, pick up the fuel rod, start running. Oh man, we lost the planet for sure, haven't we? Just think about all the other vague stuff they left out, and then you get this sentence, and your sentence is like, no, that can't be fucking real. They put him in the reactor, they locked the door and said, fix it, or you're not coming out. And they're like, let us out. No, go over there and crimp it. No, that's a deadly dose, I can't do it. We'll take care of the wife and children. Yeah. The incident caused problems when an airlock door malfunctioned and could not be opened for 2 hours. With the kind of cleaning the spill still inside, Dana. No, I don't believe you. That's too fucking crazy. That's the craziest story I've ever heard this week. Let's go to the audience and see what the audience got to say about it. Yeah. Fast cooking with a reactor, yeah. Did anybody ever expect to see that story tonight? The bad news broadcast. There you go. I gotta do it one more time before we move on. That's too sweet to give up on one little go. New Brunswick has not said how long it's expected the nuclear plant to be offline. It is normally the utility's largest generator of electricity. Utility says all radiation protection procedures and dose limits for the staff were met. And if you're trying to you work for nuclear industry and you want to get a hotel room, your imaginary friends get to stay for free. The upcoming Oppenheimer film replicates the nuclear blast without any CGI. He bought a 737, I believe, and then blew it up. And rather than to replicate Oppenheimer's original atomic explosion, they're going to zoom right in on that, and they got the copyright, and they got a huge flame and a huge nuke killers are trapped in a reactor. Yeah, it's one of the, it's a very light-hearted story for Christmas. It makes me feel all warm inside anyway. Oppenheimer, the movie, will feature a huge explosion, recreating the famous Trinity nuclear explosion without the use of CGI. Whoopee. I can't sleep until the show starts. This is fun. Building promises of a small modular reactor, one conference at a time. And they got New Scale. What a stupid name. And they've been around like 18 years. They still haven't even got a reactor. Artist's rendering of New Scale's small modular nuclear reactor plant. Come on, honey, we're going to take the kids down and see New Scale's small modular reactor plant. It's beautiful. Come on, everybody. Let's bring some bananas and potato chips with us. The atmosphere was full of hope for yet another nuclear renaissance. We've been listening to this like since Fukushima, by the way. Nuclear renaissance. The stock market is disgusting. Now, the stock market's done for the first 5 years. It had never stopped, but the first 5 years after Fukushima, all the people that had stocks were stuck with this worthless pieces of paper. So the media said, we'll help you sell it. And they did. There's over 400 vendors, utility representatives, government officials, investors, policy advocates, think tanks, AK, team building and raising spirits within the nuclear community to promote small modular reactors. It was a big whoop whoop they just had for the small modular reactor zombie administration. This time, the Renaissance would indeed materialize, drew on 3 key convictions. Well, first off, the rules are that you can't release any radiation into the environment are considered so strict that the nuclear industry says they can't build a reactor. First, achieving net zero carbon emissions with renewable energy only without nuclear would be either hugely expensive and environmentally damaging compared to what? The wars? The nuclear? Or outright impossible? Last year was 291.5 gigawatts of energy came online. 291 gigawatts out of the 291.5 was renewables. 0.4 was nuclear. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, initiated exactly 3 months prior to the conference, had brought energy security back to the top of the energy policy agenda in Western countries. This was a false flag. They're talking about a false flag, folks. It's a complete coincidence that Vladimir Putin, Justin Trudeau, Angela Merkel, and many, many current and recent so-called leaders were part of the World Economic Forum's young global leaders decades ago at the same time. That are all in power at the same time, and they're all doing the worst things you can do for the countries they're supposed to protect. They're doing everything they can to destroy the integrity of the countries. The Western-built small modular reactor would be good for the planet, said the lunatic batshit creeps. As Laura Holgate, the U.S. ambassador to the International Atomic Energy Agency, proclaimed. Yeah, these are actual lunatics, these people. Marketed as a cheaper, safer, faster to build. That's what they said for every other reactor. And they're open to paying participants from across the world to go to the conferences. Must be nice. The Atoms for Peace program in the 1950s. Referencing that is a pretty despicable thing to do. You know they hate humanity when anybody references that one. Several batshit Canadian speakers laundered the country's collaborative approach to small modular reactor developments. Canada doesn't have a single design submitted. It's going to take 5 years to a decade to go through the design. They can't just rubber stamp it. They can say they approved the design, but they still got to go through it. And that's going to take 5 or 10 years. Then they got to point out the flaws. They got the rules out there for these reactors, and the industry said, well, we can't design a reactor around something where you want as low as reasonably achievable emissions. This is nuclear. Normally we just build it in farmland and release whatever we want whenever we want. We burn it in the incinerators. But the new rules are you got to leave a planet for the future generations, so you got to contain it. And they're like, well, it can't be done. If our great-great-great-grandfathers were alive, they might be able to design it, but we're too stupidly inbreeded to do it. The three-stream approach represents a diversity of small modular reactor designs, applications from grid-based and off-grid electricity and heat to spent fuel recycling. Which, by the way, the small modular reactors can't exist without mixed oxide fuel. They got to have mixed oxide fuel. And the problem with mixed oxide fuel is it's so energetic you can't contain it. And you can't really put it in fuel pools after, which is the problem they got right now. This is reclaimed from stuff that's already gone through a chain reaction and nuclear weapons sometimes. But say the fuel rods that already gone through a chain reaction is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. So when you put it through a chain reaction again, guess what happens? There's 2 billion times, 2 billion times. But now you're creating isotopes that we don't even have names for anymore. We ran out of names because they're so evil. Plutonium was named after the devil. So when they're talking about using small modular reactors in order to use the energy to create the spent fuel recycling, because you got to boil nitric acids at 3,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, you're talking about some pretty evil people, actually. You're talking about these have no concept of what it means to be a human. Argued that to reach even the most modest climate targets by 2060, well, nuclear is climate change. Radioactivity, gas, oil, coal emissions don't cover the planet in radioactive plumes. Right? That their particles are so big, they fall within 50 or 100 miles. But man-made doesn't have those restrictions. This model is 19 days. The plume covers the entire planet, and the plume lasts forever. It's pulsing energy every second, almost at the speed of light. This is pure energy. Many speakers and participants worry about whether the industry could respond to such expected massive demands. One area of concern was the industry's ability to attract a necessary skilled workforce that other industries, not including nuclear renewable energy companies, also compete for the same people. How to relaunch an industry when the U.S. nuclear supply chain is in shambles. So what Ontario done was they took the funding away from over 700 renewable projects last year that were feeding into the grid, because otherwise nuclear looks pretty stupid, see? But when nuclear is the only bully on the block, some self-declared leaders, including NuScale, self-declared, and that's exactly what it is, with connections to the administrations, with its 4, 6, and 12 modular fake reactors that don't exist. Rolls-Royce small modular reactor is actually 470 megawatts. This is massive. You're not going to build this in a factory and stick it on a truck and assemble it. This is half the size of the large reactors. But they're calling it a small modular reactor. United Kingdom is, and there's no dissent. If we don't come out and talk about it, nobody else did. They just publish, the media publishes whatever the lobbyist tells them to publish it. They're not trying to flush it out. They don't write anything. It's sent to them, they put their name on it, maybe, and it get published on their website. That's how they get their monies. Entergy's nuclear volunteers ensure no child goes hungry at the holidays. Nuclear? It's like there's 90% more solid leukemias for children within, or solid cancers and leukemias within 15 miles of a nuclear plant. There's 6 times more breast cancer within 15 miles of a nuclear plant. That's why the kids don't got nothing. There's 1,800 illnesses on planet Earth because of nuclear. You know, if you're going to study illnesses from nuclear around a power plant, you got to study heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. You got to start studying all kinds of clusters of these, particularly Down syndrome. You'll see that regularly around these nuclear plants and nuclear sites and reprocessing facilities. And by the way, reprocessing fuel in Canada is illegal still. I don't see any kind of debates, any kind of referendums or anything else. But they're changing the law with no objection because nobody knows it's happening. The government plans to raise about 20 trillion yen, 152 billion, through the issuances of green transformation bonds. I skipped something, did we? Japan to extend 60-year nuclear reactor lives. They're going to raise money to do it by selling green bonds. Nuclear's not green is the problem with that story, right? Green transformation bonds. Like 150 billion US in bonds. They're going to give some of that to the Fukushima victims you cut off in 2017, threw them under the bus. Space Coast Global Nuclear Tracking Center gives scouts a sneak peek. This is shocking. This is just a shocking story. Look at the Boy Scouts getting their atomic badges from the military industrial complex, Space Coast Global Nuclear Tracking Center. Kind of lose faith in humanity. 62 scouts traveled to the Air Force Technical Application Center to earn their nuclear science merit badge. Hang on. Yeah, to earn the nuclear science merit badge in Boy Scouts. What a betrayal to have Boy Scouts doing something like that. Like, that's just an incredible, disgusting betrayal. That's a horrific betrayal. And so he says at the Space Force base, Patrick Space Force Base in Florida, the annual load of roughly 15,000 radioactive samples from monitoring stations around the world, for the most part, have normal amounts of radiation, like the kind you might find from, don't you say it, potassium-40 in a banana. You sack of fucking shit. You sack of shit for saying that. You disgusting parasite for saying something like that. You revolting maggot for saying something like that. You hideous scumbag for saying something like that. Potassium-40 in a banana. So they're saying all the 15,000 samples from the radiation monitoring stations around the world, all you're going to find is potassium-40 like in a banana. Does my Geiger counter look like a banana to anybody? In God we trust, all others we monitor. Think about that statement. Who are you working for again? Oh, the Space Force, really. For a decade, the volunteers have been opening up the facility doors to troops with scouts seeking a hard-to-get nuclear science merit badge. That's shocking. The parents should be arrested for child abuse for letting their children go there. It's one of the few places in the state to offer the atomic merit badge. My goodness. What is the world coming to? One thing every one of the 62 boys and girls who came to the 13 troops learned was the acronym ALARA, which means as low as reasonably achievable, referring to the efforts to protect against radiation. The children were separated into groups named after radioactive elements like neptunium and plutonium and americium and curium and thorium and uranium. You got some sadistic creatures. That's some sadistic stuff to do that. It shows the mentality of the people working there is no different from the children that go there. Ranging from ages 11 to 17 years old. That should absolutely be considered child abuse. They were involved in assessing fallout from 1986 Chernobyl and the 2011 Fukushima nuclear plant disaster. There's scum and then there's people like that, man. Don't trust the atom, they make up everything, said the scumbag Adam. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. Obama said, I got a drone with a nuclear bomb on it. Rosatom develops nuclear fuel for modernized floating power plants. They're just trying to rub that in the face of the Western North American small modular reactor industry that can't use Rosatom's fuel, right? And that's why the nuclear industry fell flat on its face, because they got to have the mixed oxide fuel. No, that's what that's all about, right? And then he showed this hideous drawing. This is a hideous. That whoever drew that should be fired immediately. Turkey's going to recruit 350 high school students. Yeah, the world. No dogs beyond this point. Don't buy Camco. For God's sakes, don't buy Camco. Price to pop if uranium catches a bid. This is 12 years of this, right? 12 years of hoodwinking people into buying Camco. And my apologies, because it's not a Canadian-based uranium mine per se. Camco, he's from Sweden, wasn't he? Didn't he put a pillow on his father's face on his deathbed so he can get out and go finish partying tonight or something? Small modular, his father made the money off oil. the guy who owns it, and he's a degenerate scum. Small modular reactor tech ready to move forward in the United Kingdom. Really? And who's going to do it here? Don't tell me NuScale. Oh, that's right, NuScale. Ready to move forward. You don't have a reactor. You don't even have proof of concept. By the way, this is how they started the nuclear industry in the first place, with no proof of concept. They made all these promises, and people said, yeah, give us one. And they were like, crap, now we got to build it and design it rather than build it. That's how they done it originally. The government established a new body called the Great British Nuclear. The Great British Nuclear Disaster is what it should be named. Like they're like the United Kingdom doesn't build anything with nuclear, right? France does it. The United Kingdom simply doesn't do it. Neither does France when you actually look at the work they're doing. We view ourselves as probably the most near-term deployable technology with the most mature program of any small modular reactor vendor. What are you talking about? You existed for 18 years. You've never built anything. You haven't gathered up the material. You've done nothing. You got a partial plan, and today you're claiming you got everything is into the NRC. You know that's not true. You know that's not true. Stop lying. Well, they can't publish a story if they don't lie, Dana. We got 3 projects, he says, going on at the moment. One in Idaho. Yes, that's a coal mine that doesn't shut down for at least another 3 years. You got nothing on the go there. One in Portland. You don't got one being built in Portland. You built some infrastructure a couple of years ago, and you came in a few months later and took it away. And one in Romania. What are you talking about, man? You got nothing in Romania. You got a memorandum of understanding for something that don't exist. It's vaporware, right? And you're holding up all the other legitimate opportunities by getting at the front of the line. We think we're well positioned to be able to move forward. It's not like we still have to develop the technology, which is exactly what you got to do. Like, why does that story even exist? So you don't look for geothermal or anything like that, right? The new free Epic Games Store games brings the triple nuclear winter. Triple nuclear winter. We all know what nuclear winter fable is all about, right? We already had nuclear wars. I don't see nuclear winter. I see nuclear summer from all the emissions pulsing energy almost at the speed of light every second for decades and decades. Adding to it each day, every day. None of it goes away. They barely keep up with their lies. Holtec clarifies Indian Point Trust Fund agreement with the Non-Regulatory Commission. This is from what the hell is it? Can't remember. The weapons complex. They only give you maybe a paragraph. Nuclear Regulatory Commission met recently with the Holtec International to discuss the agency's concerns. Really? The Nuclear Regulatory Agency got concerns? About the company's proposal use of a shuttered New York, which is Indian Point Disease Factory, dedicated decommissioning fund. A regulatory filing shows, the fund that they want to reuse for something else they got that so they can decommission the plant. But now they got other greater. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. And the last story. Renewable energy sector to boom with likely investments. This is India, I believe, of 25 billion US in 2023. Here were some stats that I thought. Solar equipment and energy storage in pursuit of an ambitious 500 gigawatt. Worldwide, there was 550 gigawatts last year of renewables came online. The last 2 years combined, rather. 2020, 2021. India would have to add at least 25 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity per year for 8 years continuously to achieve the 500 gigawatt target, which is easy to do. That's actually not a problem. So at present, India has 173 gigawatts of non-fossil fueled based clean energy capacity. So capacity, they have 62 gigawatts of solar, 42 gigawatts of wind energy, 10 gigawatts of biomass, 5 gigawatts of small hydro, 47 gigawatts of large hydro, and 7 gigawatts of nuclear power capacity. Which I thought it was completely different. I thought it was completely different. So when you see that, it's hard to appreciate the scale, right? But think of that scale, because that's huge, right? And then think of that. And then ask yourself, why they got all the holes in reactor 1 in Fukushima in the last week and hasn't made no announcements? How come they haven't explained? They didn't mind explaining this to us when they were at reactor 4. Oh, that's right, they faked it, Dana. I'm worried that's what they're going to be pulling off soon with reactor 1 or reactor 2, right? They got it done to reactor 3 and 4, where they faked it 100%. And they've been busy. They have been busy. Yeah, hydrogen fuel cells are a reality. You can actually buy the hydrogen cars now too, right? That's a great point, James. Thank you. I appreciate all the phone calls tonight. That was awesome. Thank you. Just kidding you. I'm just messing with you. I'm just funning you. Don't take it personal. Well, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but after Christmas, Boxing Day, I'm intending to do a 2022 recap. Now, the only way that's going to work is if I cut my fingers off and don't try to gather up daily stories each day. But I'm curious. I'm like kind of weird like that. I'm curious to see what the industry is going to pump out each day. So, knowing me, I'm going to have to do both of them. Which just means there's an absurd amount of work coming my way. I like to take a week off, climb up in a tree and just hang on to it for a week or something like that. Just escape Earth. And bring up a hammock and everything, coffee maker and a few things like that. Just escape planet Earth. Yeah, just came back from vacation. Yes, boy, where were you? I hung out at the top of a tree, 600 feet up, for about a week. Never slept that good in my life. Yeah, good night, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Yeah, 2022 was a big blur. Stephen Young. Hi, Stephen. Stephen, thank you again. Stephen donated 50 today. That's a big deal. Thank you, Stephen. Dana Nasana, good night, good day, good week. We'll be back on Boxing Day is my best guess. Blue Jay Outpost. Good old proctologist, yeah. Albert, good night, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thinker, let's celebrate Christmas, that is. Jeff Poor. Conrad. Felix. I'm gonna see Don Vincent Walters. You know, Colette is out there. Good night, Colette. Yes. Haven't seen Swanee D in the last couple of weeks. Hope everything's going okay in that neck of the woods, because she's been around for years. And who else have I forgot? Robert Blob. I know Richard's out there somewhere. James Ward. Timothy Martin. Kevin Blanche is probably out there today, tonight or tomorrow or something. Well, folks, just... You're the smartest people on earth, as far as I can tell. You're aware that that is something unique. And Patrick, looks like I got the shit censored out of me this week. Holy smoke-a-rooies. It's incredible censorship, isn't it? How much I can do, we just gotta have faith and keep trying to educate the population. Port Angeles, it's a crappy job I got for sure. I definitely got the shitty end of the stick, and might as well give it back to him. It's really something to each day that we cover, we do a show or a presentation. It's interesting to see the consistency of how evil this industry actually is. It never ever, I never get used to it. I really don't get used to the lies, and that's why we're still going hard. Another Gmail. Vildra. If I missed anybody, my apologies. I'm starting to have to blink pretty hard to read anything. I will get through it. We're almost through it. Let's resort to the backup eyeballs. Oh, that actually works. We're gonna do the poll one more time here. Let's check the poll. We got dismal numbers this week. Wow. A little bit of pushback for Christmas. The industry can't handle a single conversation. It freaks them out. We got 44 votes, 95% of the humans. The other ones are scum, obviously. But the ones that said yes, they're the best on the planet. They got the moral compass. 95% is a incontestable, unassailable acknowledgement that the industry is insane. Good day, everybody. We'll see everybody on Monday? Yes, Sunday's Christmas Day. So Monday, I'm not sure how this is actually going to play out. I might just do everything live for 5 days. We're talking about 8 hours a day or something, just to be an asshole, cover everything. I'm a miserable enough person to do something like that, you know. Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of work. I'm going to have to sleep for a week after. Can I pull that off, I wonder? Huh? Well, we'll see on Monday, I guess. So instead of doing all the work and then doing a short version, I'll do everything live. We'll just skip through everything. Which means I got to click through around 5,000 each day. Oh God, it's a lot worse than that, isn't it? We'll see. I'll do the numbers. We'll know on Monday. Whatever I does on Monday will be the trendsetter for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then sleep on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of January. Get up, get a shave, shower, go back to bed. You know the routine. We'll do the marathon. Anyway, my sincere hopes and wishes for everybody for these next few days. I won't be here to comfort you, and have faith. We'll see everybody on Monday. We'll come out and shit kick them till the end of the year to kick off the new year of shit kicking the nuclear industry. Our new motto is take no shit from the nuclear industry, period. Give it back 10 times as hard. Have a great night, have a great weekend, have a great Christmas. We'll see everybody on Boxing Day. Good night, folks.